Cutting angles on the table saw gets a little easier with one of these. Every table saw deserves a decent miter gauge. A while back we did a video on the INCRA V27. It's an excellent miter gauge, certainly an upgrade to the one that came with your saw, but what if you need a miter gauge to do more? Well, INCRA also has a 1000 SE and a 1000 HD miter gauge, and both of those come with a fence. The SE has 41 angle stops, and the HD has 180 angle stops. Well, the reality is you probably just do 90s, 45s, and some 22.5s, but what if you wanted to do something more, and wouldn't it be nice if you could? I've had a 1000 HD in my shop for years. And to be honest with you, I mostly cut 90s and 45s, but I wouldn't be without it. Initial setup is really easy. The instructions are really easy to follow. And like the V27, the SE and the HD, they both use a removable T-clip. So if your table saw doesn't have that feature, you're still good to go. And another nice feature is they use these expansion discs so that you get a nice tight fit in your miter slot and you got a nice smooth sliding action. Both units will work on either side of the blade, left or right, but out of the box they are configured to work on the left. But they have easy to follow instructions if you need to set yours up on the right side of the blade. So let's just dive a little deeper and see just what makes these special. And like I said, the SE has 41 different angle stops, over 180 degrees at 5-degree increments with an additional 22.5 and 67.5 on either side of 0. And let's just take a look at the HD. And as you can see here, the HD has 180 angle stops with special stops at 22.5 degrees and markings at 67.5 degrees on either side of 0. So let's take a look at another feature that makes this miter gauge unique. This is the actuator with the actuator tooth. And what that does is you rotate that in, and that tooth will engage that protractor head at whatever angle you're trying to cut. So you'll tighten that thumb screw, you tighten your clamp, and you're ready to cut. So what if you want to do, say, an 18-degree cut? Well, we move that actuator tooth away, loosen the clamp handle. I'm going to rotate that to 18 degrees. I'm going to engage that tooth in the 18 degrees, tighten that up, tighten the clamp handle up, and now I'm ready to cut at 18 degrees. On the HD, you have a stop for every angle. On the SE, it's every 5 degrees. So let's just take a look at how we cut an 18 degree on the SE. The SE also has an actuator and an actuator tooth and a vernier scale. And we're going to use all three here. I'll rotate that actuator in, engage that tooth. I'll move that vernier scale in, and you'll notice that the 0 on the vernier scale lines up with the 0 on the protractor head. So what I'm going to do to set an 18-degree angle, I'm going to rotate that actuator away so that it disengages that tooth. I'll swing that vernier scale back in. I'll loosen my clamp handle. And I'm going to rotate until that 0 on the vernier scale lines up with the 18 on the protractor head. I'll lock that down, lock the clamp handle down, and I've just set an 18-degree angle cut. Just that easy. After setting the angle, you're going to want to make sure that that fence is going to clear the blade. And here you can see that it won't. So I need to loosen the 2 socket head screws in the back. I'm going to slide that fence over so that it will clear. And then I'll lock that back up. And there we are, we're ready to make the cut. To zero out the fence scale to do 90-degree cuts, it's pretty easy and painless. You'll loosen the thumb screws on the flip stop, slide that over to the end of the fence, lines up with the 0 on the scale, tighten that back up. We'll want to loosen those socket head screws on the back. And then we're going to slide that fence over so it just kisses the tooth. We'll tighten that back up. and we're zeroed out. So say for example I want to do a 5-inch cut. I'm just going to loosen those thumb screws again. I'll slide this over to that 5-inch mark. I'll lock that down. And I'm ready to make a cut. And just to double check that, there we are, 5 inches on the nose. If you need to make longer cuts, the fence will telescope out to 31 inches. And we'll need to calibrate that scale as well. To do that, we're going to loosen the thumb screws on the flip stop. We'll move it back to the short section of the fence and we'll secure that there. Then I'll loosen that socket head screw on the back end of the long fence. I'll telescope that out. Then I'm going to take a tape measure and I'm going to go for 17 inches. There we go. And then I'm going to bring that fence in till it just kisses that tape measure. I'm going to tighten that back up. I need to adjust that scale so that it reads 17 inches at the end of that long fence. And then I'm ready to go. That's how you calibrate that scale. And another key component to these miter gauges is the flip stop. It's a dual arm flip stop. It comes with a 5-inch rod and 2 1.5-inch rods. And that gives you options for different configurations and different cut lengths. Another key feature to the flip arm is the tongues and the grooves on the fence. So when you engage that, you cut a miter, that can't wedge itself underneath the fence. Makes for a much more accurate cut. If you remove the rods, then each arm acts independently and you still have more options for different cuts. And another nice feature of the flip stop is its micro adjust capability. So if you needed to fine tune a cut, you'd be able to do that. Just loosen these 2 top screws, back that nut off, and use your micro adjust screw. And once you do that, then be sure to tighten those screws back up and you're ready to make your cuts. But remember, at some point you're going to have to do another zero calibration on your scale, but that's quick and painless as you saw earlier. So as you can see, there's a lot to like in the INCRA 1000 SE and the 1000 HD. And like I said before, I have the 1000 HD in my shop, had it for years, wouldn't be without it. And to get yours today, click on the link in the description below and get to cutting. And to receive weekly videos like this one, sign up for our free eNote video tips by going to thewoodsmithstore.com. When you do, you'll receive $25 in online gift certificates as a bonus. And just so you don't miss anything, be sure to subscribe to our Woodsmith Store YouTube channel.